Hi, everyone, and welcome to Timely Topics. My name is Dr. Jen Reinhart, and I'm with the statewide team for school improvement, along with IU 13. Throughout this series, I'll share information, tips, and resources to help guide you through each phase of the cycle of continuous improvement. Thanks for joining. Today's Timely Topics will focus on selecting evidence-based strategies and creating quality action steps. Throughout this video, I'll define evidence-based strategies, I'll share some tips for selecting evidence-based strategies, and provide some resources for where to find evidence-based strategies. Then I'll share some guidelines and rubric for quality action planning, and I'll point you to specific resources and next steps. Remember, your desired state is the vision. It's where you want your school to be. Through your needs assessment and your root cause analysis, you identified your current state. And today we're going to talk about creating a plan that you're going to implement and monitor that's going to help you to reach your desired state. Before we move into education, let's take a pause and think about the medical world. When you go to the doctor because you're having some problems, the doctor takes a look at you, they talk to you, they understand what's happening, they want to learn. The doctor probably runs some tests, and those might include taking your temperature, your blood pressure. It may even include some blood work. From that point, the doctor needs to decide how to treat your symptoms. The doctor is going to use their wide range of experience, their knowledge of you, the test results that they have compiled, and their knowledge about all of the different medications and treatments that they could prescribe. That knowledge and all of that information will help them prescribe a medication that will address the underlying problems. The doctor doesn't choose a treatment or a medication based on what their friends have been prescribing. Instead, they take the context of the patient that they're treating. They take all of the data that they've gathered from different assessments, and they match that up with the medication or a treatment going to clearly address the underlying problems that the person is having. Let's shift now to our continuous of cycle improvement with schools. We've identified these 6 phases of continuous improvement, and today we're going to focus in on this third phase, create a plan. When you're creating a plan, you want it to be rigorous and still attainable, and it has to be directly related to the needs assessment and the root cause analysis that you performed. You're going to select powerful, high leverage strategies. You're going to determine indicators that you will look for to know if those strategies are having an impact. You're going to select milestones. So what is it that you're looking for to know that you're on target to implementing your strategy? And ultimately, you're going to document incremental steps that you're going to complete along the way. This portion of the work that we're going to talk about today takes place throughout April. During that time, you want to create goals, select your evidence-based strategies, and create those action plans. In our first video, we talked about your vision for planning. Planning takes teams, and it takes structures and systems. For this portion of your work, you'll want to pull your full steering committee together. Ultimately, the full steering committee will want to have some input on the selection of the strategy, and you'll want their help in writing the action steps. In addition, each of these 4 structures or systems will really be supportive as you move through this process. Clear timelines for getting the work done, a process for scheduling, because it may involve whole group and small group work, understanding where all of these materials are going to be organized so people can easily access them is really important. I'll talk about a structure or protocol to guide your conversation when selecting an evidence-based strategy, and those agendas are great for keeping all of the information in one document so people know where to go. Before we talk about evidence-based strategies, let's pull it all together and put that into the context of all of the work you're doing. We start out with creating your vision for learning. Then you worked to collect the sources of evidence that you needed to assess your needs and understand the underlying root causes. Once you understood your root cause, you created 2 to 3 priority statements that said what you wanted to focus on and what you would anticipate seeing as a result. Now that you know your priorities, you can select evidence-based strategies that directly align to your priority statements. Once your strategies are selected, that informs your action plan. So what are evidence-based strategies? Evidence-based strategies are strategies that are backed by high-quality evidence, so there is rigor behind them. They have favorable outcomes for students, for staff, or parents, or others, so they have proven results, and they can be replicated. So in order to be considered evidence, a test must have taken place. Effects have to be measured using a valid and reliable instrument. Think back to our medical example. It can't be because my doctor friend had it work in a patient. So in the school context, I'm not going to select a strategy because my friend who's a principal at another school likes that strategy. And in order to be considered evidence, the procedures have to be documented. So think about our students doing their science fair project. We require them to write down their methodology. We'd expect that from an evidence-based strategy as well. You may be aware that the research for the evidence-based strategies is tiered based on ESSA tier requirements. Those tiers are strong, or tier 1, moderate, tier 2, promising, tier 3, or demonstrate a rationale, which would be tier 4. Those tiers are based on these criteria. So when the research was conducted, how were the groups for the research formed? How strong was the significance of the results? Is there countervailing evidence? What's the sample size? What setting did the research take place? And in what context? I'll point you to a resource where you can see the details for each of these criteria. To find evidence-based strategies, you've got a lot of options. Feel free to pause the video and jot down some of these options that you may want to explore for evidence-based strategies that are aligned to your priority. So keep in mind, when you're selecting an evidence-based strategy, you want to make sure that you remain aligned with your priority. Use the research that comes along with that strategy to determine if it's really going to address the need that you have. Next, you want to verify the tier for your given context. As you're selecting these strategies, seek input from your stakeholders. That's why you want to involve your full committee to make sure that people on your committee are also on board with selecting this strategy. And I'm going to show you the NERN hexagon tool that you can use to structure your decision-making conversation. Let's move into that now. So here's the NERN hexagon tool that I just referred to. The NERN hexagon tool categorizes your conversation into 6 different areas. The first 3 are around your capacity to implement the strategy that you select. Does it meet the need that you have? Does it fit within your community, your values? And is there an impact on other initiatives? And what's your capacity to implement this strategy? The other 3 categories provide structures for a conversation around the supports that may be needed in order to implement your strategy, what evidence you are going to want to collect, and what you might expect from the strategy that you implement. That's really helpful when you're setting your goals. And the last part of the conversation is around usability. As you review the strategy, is there enough information there for you to know how to actually implement it? What do you need to do? Are there adaptations available for your context? When you go to this document, there are very specific questions that you can answer and that you can rate each one of these categories. Let's now move into writing your action steps. Once you've identified your evidence-based strategy, you know it's a good fit, let's start to write those action steps. Let's think of this as though you were baking a birthday cake. When you're baking a birthday cake for a friend or a loved one, you know what they like and you know what's important to them. So you select a recipe and that recipe has been tested. You make sure that you have what you need to make it. You know that you have the ingredients, the tools. I know that I need a mixer. I probably need a spatula. I know I need an oven. Do I have the space in my kitchen to work? And have I made time on my calendar? Once you've got all that together, you follow the instructions. So you look at the recipe and you do what they tell you to do. You might need to substitute. You would do that in a very informed way. As you're mixing the ingredients, sometimes you pause and you double check to make sure that you didn't miss anything or that you put the right amount of each ingredient in. And then as it's baking, you check throughout to make sure it's not burning. So when it comes time to writing your action steps, consider what parts of the recipe do you need to include so that anybody who's picking up your action plan knows what it is that they need to do in order to implement the strategy. How do you know that you have a high quality plan? There are some set criteria for determining high quality plans. Feel free to pause the video and check out any of the resources at these QR codes. The first one on the left is a plan quality rubric spreadsheet. In the middle is the same plan quality rubric in a PDF version. And on the right-hand side, we have a QR code that will take you to our school plans and guidelines process document that articulates guiding questions and steps to take within each of the phases, as well as expectations for the criteria. For your next steps, first, download the guidelines and rubrics. Then consider visiting the evidenceforpa.org website and going to the Learn section of that website to learn more about evidence-based strategies and the ESSA tiers. Then talk to your school improvement facilitator, your SIF, or you may have other individuals who are supporting your planning process. Talk to them about the evidence-based strategies and the ways in which you want to go about creating a high quality plan. Next, we're going to go out to the websites so I can show you some resources to support your next steps. We're going to start at the iu13.org/school improvement website. From here, I'm going to ask you to click on Pennsylvania Continuous Improvement Resources. On the right, you can see an area of our website for each phase of the cycle of improvement. We're going to click on Go Create a Plan. Once you get here, you're going to see the areas that we talked about today. We mentioned just a little bit about goal statements and targets. There's a lot more resources and details that you'll want to look into, and they're available here. We talked more about selecting evidence-based strategies and action planning for success. As you scroll down, you'll see toolkits and one-pagers. Here's that NERN hexagon tool. We have guides and learning materials. When we click here, there's a quick link to that Pennsylvania Evidence Resource Center, as well as other resources that may have information that's helpful to you. And last, I'd like to point you to learning modules that are geared specifically towards this phase of the cycle of improvement. Thanks for joining our Timely Topics today. Don't forget, you can reach out to any of our team members at pdecsi@iu13.org.